They say timing is everything, but I've learned that knowing when to walk away, even when everything looks perfect on paper, takes a kind of courage I never knew I had. I was 24 when I almost said yes to a life that didn't feel like mine. A life filled with comfort and security and all the right checkboxes, except the most important one: joy. His name was Matt. We met in college during our sophomore year, one of those meet-cutes that would have made the perfect opening scene for a rom-com. I spilled iced coffee on his sketch pad in the campus cafe. He looked up, wide-eyed and stunned, and I apologized 1,000 times while trying to dab away the damage with napkins that only made it worse. He laughed, I laughed, and that was it. Matt was the kind of guy every parent loves. Kind, funny, respectful, with a quiet confidence that made you feel safe. He studied architecture and had a passion for designing homes that felt like they could breathe. His words, not mine. We dated through college, survived a summer apart during internships, and when graduation came, we found jobs in the same city and moved in together. At first, everything was easy. We shared routines, inside jokes, and lazy Sunday mornings. He was steady, and in a world that constantly felt too fast, that steadiness grounded me. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big fight or betrayal. It was subtler than that, like waking up one morning and realizing the wallpaper you once loved now feels outdated. I started to notice how often I smiled out of habit, how my laughter sometimes felt rehearsed, and how every time we talked about the future, buying a house, getting married, settling down, I felt this quiet panic that I couldn't name. I tried to ignore it. I told myself that no relationship is perfect, that doubts are normal, that love isn't always fireworks. I listed all the reasons I should be happy. He treated me well. He made me feel safe. We never fought. Our families got along. But there was one thing missing. That spark. That gut-level certainty that this was it. And I began to wonder if maybe I had confused feeling safe with feeling fulfilled. Then one evening, it hit me. We were out to dinner celebrating our 3-year anniversary. He handed me a small velvet box across the table. My heart stopped, not with excitement, but with dread. I opened it slowly. Inside wasn't a ring, but a delicate silver necklace with a tiny pendant shaped like a house. "For our future," he said, beaming. "I can't wait to build it with you." I smiled. I kissed him. I thanked him. But inside, I felt like I couldn't breathe. That night, lying in bed with his arm draped around me, I stared at the ceiling and felt like I was floating outside of my life, watching myself play the role of the good girlfriend, the grateful partner, the future bride. And for the first time, I admitted to myself, I didn't want that future. Not with him. Not like this. But saying it to myself was one thing. Saying it out loud would mean breaking his heart and tearing apart the life we'd built. So I stayed quiet. Days turned into weeks. The necklace sat in my drawer, untouched. I started finding reasons to work late, to stay out with friends longer, to avoid the stillness that forced me to confront the truth. And then came the weekend that changed everything. We went on a short trip to the mountains, something Matt had planned to reconnect. It was beautiful, peaceful, but I was restless the entire time. On our last night there, we sat around a small fire pit behind the cabin, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars. He looked at me and said, "You've been distant lately. Is everything okay?" I wanted to lie, to tell him it was work stress or just a phase, but instead, the words spilled out before I could stop them. "I don't think I'm happy," I whispered. He blinked. "What do you mean?" I hesitated, then said, I love you, but I don't know if this is the life I want. I don't know if we're what I want." The silence that followed felt like the world holding its breath. He didn't yell. He didn't beg. He just looked at me, eyes wide with hurt, and said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I didn't have a good answer. Because I was scared. Because I didn't want to lose him. Because it felt easier to pretend than to face the fallout. We talked for hours that night about how we'd grown, how we'd changed, and how sometimes love isn't enough. The next morning, we packed up and drove home in silence. A week later, I moved out. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Telling our families, dividing up the apartment, saying goodbye to someone who had once been my whole world. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, mornings I questioned everything. But slowly, something beautiful happened. I started to rediscover myself. I traveled alone for the first time. A weekend trip to Charleston, where I wandered cobblestone streets, component placement wrote in coffee shops, and listened to the sound of my own thoughts. I picked up painting again, something I hadn't done since high school. I started saying yes to things I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. Dance classes, writing workshops, volunteering. And with every small step, I felt more whole. Now, at 26, I'm in a new apartment with sunlit windows and books stacked in every corner. I still believe in love. I still want partnership. But now, I know what I deserve. I deserve a love that lights me up, that challenges me, that feels like home because it reflects who I truly am, not who I'm trying to be. Matt and I talk occasionally. He's doing well. He met someone new. And I'm happy for him, truly. Because we both deserve to be with people who make us feel alive, not just comfortable. So if you're reading this and you feel that quiet unease, that whisper in your chest that says this isn't quite right, listen to it. Don't be afraid of starting over. Don't let fear of hurting someone keep you from choosing yourself. Because settling isn't safety, it's silence. And you deserve to live a life that sings.